Imagine walking through the serene beauty of a national park. The sunlight filtering through the trees, the birds singing, the air crisp and pure. It feels safe, peaceful, perfect. But what if I told you that behind this picturesque landscape lies a chilling, unsolved mystery? Hundreds of people vanish in America's national parks every year. Some are never seen again. Others return, but not as they were. Their faces are different. Their voices echo strangely. And some carry secrets that will haunt them and anyone who listens forever. Tonight, we will venture into the dark heart of these forests, uncovering terrifying disappearances, eerie whispers in the night, and the horrifying truth about the unseen forces that dwell within the wilderness. You will hear stories of hikers lost without a trace, children guided by a shadowy figure, and the hollow-eyed victims who came back, but only partially. Stay with me, if you dare, as we journey through the most spine-chilling, mysterious, and terrifying vanishings in U.S. national parks. And if you enjoy stories that make your blood run cold and your heart race, make sure you hit that subscribe button because there are far more secrets lurking in the shadows waiting to be uncovered. Daniel Foster was an experienced hiker. He wasn't careless, wasn't the type to wander off without preparation. On a cool September morning, he strapped on his gear, tightened his boots, and set off on Yosemite's High Sierra Loop. He told his sister he'd be back by Sunday evening. He never returned. Rangers later found his backpack resting neatly against a pine tree, as though he had deliberately set it down. His map was folded perfectly inside, and his water bottle was still half full. But Daniel himself was gone. No signs of struggle, no animal tracks, not even a bent blade of grass leading away from the trail. That night, other hikers reported hearing strange metallic whispers weaving through the wind. They described the sound as if someone were dragging chains deep in the forest, the rhythm almost like words. The forest was utterly still, yet the echoes followed them wherever they walked. It was as though the woods themselves had swallowed him whole. Daniel's case wasn't unique. Over the decades, hundreds of hikers in America's national parks had vanished in the same eerie fashion. Rangers kept records, but families whispered. There was a pattern. Shoes. Always the shoes. In countless disappearances, the missing person's boots were discovered carefully placed side by side, as though removed calmly, not torn off in panic. Some socks were folded and set on top. The unsettling part was where these shoes were found. On cliff sides, in the middle of thick swamps, or miles from the trail, in places nearly impossible to reach. One Navajo guide once muttered to a reporter, "The forest asks for offerings. First the shoes, then the soul." Every official report called them accidents, animal attacks, or disorientation. But locals knew better. The earth was swallowing them, or something in the earth was taking them. Months after Daniel disappeared, something even stranger happened. He returned. 30 miles away from where he vanished, a farmer spotted a barefoot man staggering out of the woods at dawn. His clothes were torn, his skin scratched, but what disturbed witnesses most were his eyes. Wide, glassy, unfocused, staring at nothing. When park rangers approached, Daniel muttered a single phrase, over and over. "The trees don't want us here. The trees don't want us here." Then, without warning, he collapsed. By the time paramedics arrived, his body was cold. He was gone again, this time forever. At the hospital, doctors discovered something chilling. Under his fingernails was tightly packed black soil, the kind found deep beneath the ground, far below where a man could have dug with his bare hands. Not everyone who comes back looks the same. Michelle Graves, a woman who vanished in Olympic National Park, reappeared 2 weeks later walking into a ranger station. She was pale, trembling, but alive. At first, everyone celebrated her miraculous return, but her husband noticed immediately. Her face wasn't quite right. Her cheekbones seemed higher. Her eye color had shifted from hazel to a cold, unnatural shade of gray. And when she spoke, her words carried an echo as if two voices overlapped. When doctors ran her dental records, they didn't match. Her own family backed away, whispering that the woman who came home wasn't the same woman who left. Michelle insisted she was herself, but she also said something strange. He told me to follow the lights. He told me I could come back, but I wouldn't come back the same. A retired ranger finally broke his silence. He confessed that the government has thick, locked cabinets filled with reports on what they call anomalous vanishings. He said that rangers are trained to avoid certain words when filing reports. Never say unexplained. Never mention the symbols carved into trees at disappearance sites. He described spirals burned into bark, stick figures carved high up where no person could reach, and markings that glowed faintly at night. They're not random, he whispered. It's a language, and we're not meant to read it. When asked why the public was never told, his answer was chilling. Because the forest isn't just alive, it's hungry. And if the truth got out, no one would ever step foot in a park again. Campers tell stories of voices calling out to them in the dark. The voices sound exactly like a loved one, a mother, a brother, a best friend. But those loved ones are miles away. One hiker woke to hear his sister calling his name from outside the tent. He unzipped the flap and stepped out, following the sound deeper into the woods. His friends woke to his screams echoing through the trees, cut short as if swallowed. He was never seen again. Another survivor described something even worse. He claimed he saw the figure behind the voice, a tall, faceless shadow with elongated arms that stood at the edge of the tree-line, mimicking the sound of his father's voice perfectly. Children are the most disturbing cases. Several kids have vanished, only to be found days later in places they could never have reached alone, high on cliffs, deep in caves, or miles from their last known location. They are usually unharmed, even well-fed, but they all tell the same story. They say a man led them there, the smiling man in the trees. Every child draws the same figure when asked. Tall, black silhouette, no eyes, stretched grin from ear to ear. Some even say he carried a lantern that glowed with a greenish light. When rangers pressed one child about how she got so high up on the cliff, she answered simply, "He carried me." Witnesses say that some people who return aren't really people anymore. A man named Charles staggered back after a 6-month disappearance. His walk was jerky, unnatural, as though his body wasn't his own. His voice slurred, his smile never faded, and when he blinked, it looked wrong. Within days, his body began to deteriorate. His bones snapped without force. His skin turned gray, his eyes sank. He collapsed on the floor of his home, body splitting like a rotted shell. The coroner's report was classified, but one worker leaked a detail. His internal organs were missing, replaced entirely with soil, leaves, and smooth river stones. There are areas in parks that even rangers won't patrol after dark. They're marked on no maps, labeled only as restricted or unsafe terrain. But the real reason is far stranger. Compasses spin wildly there, electronics fail, and shadows move against the direction of the wind. Some claim to hear chanting, low and distant, carried on the breeze. Native tribes spoke of these places long before the parks were founded. They called them thin places where the barrier between our world and something older, hungrier, bleeds away. Hikers who cross into these zones sometimes come back, but more often they vanish without a trace. The vanishings aren't random. They're ritual. Every year, more people disappear than is ever reported to the public. The parks are not just nature preserves, they're hunting grounds, feeding grounds for something ancient that requires sacrifice. The government knows. That's why the files stay locked. That's why the truth is buried. If you camp in those forests, you might hear your name whispered softly in the dark. You might see a faint lantern light between the trees. If you do, don't answer. Don't follow. Because whatever is calling you is already standing right behind you. As we step back from the shadows of these forests, remember, the stories you've heard tonight are not just tales. They are warnings. Warnings whispered through the trees, carried by the wind, and etched into the very soil of America's national parks. The vanished, the returned, the hollow-eyed. They are proof that some mysteries are far darker than we dare to imagine. Every time someone disappears, every faint whisper in the night, It reminds us that these woods are alive in ways we cannot comprehend. And perhaps, somewhere out there, the shadows are watching you, waiting for the faintest step off the path, the slightest call of curiosity. If this story sent chills down your spine, or made you think twice before your next hike, let me know in the comments. Share your theories, your fears, or if you've ever felt something watching in the dark. And don't forget hit that like button if you felt the terror, and subscribe to join our journey into the unknown, because the shadows are deep, the forests are vast, and there are more secrets lurking, waiting to be revealed.